blessing, we must be corrected. If we don't want to be corrected, then we are stupid. We're stupid. One of the things we need to do in order to receive a blessing is we need to leave our old ways. We need to be blessed. And for God to bless us, we have to leave our old ways. So how could we be a blessing? And if God is the one who blesses, how could we receive Him from God? In Proverbs chapter 10 verse 22 it says, "The blessing of the Lord brings wealth, and He adds no trouble to it." This is the blessing that we're looking for. This is the blessing that we're in search of. The blessing that adds no trouble to it. Pure. You will be a blessing. Abraham heard these words. He was a blessing. God said these words to him. Who is Abraham? Who is Abraham? How did he receive these words? How did he get to hear these great words? The words of comfort. Abraham used to live with his father named Taran. Taran's job was to build the sculptures. He would build these sculptures and he would idolize it. He worshipped them. The sculptures that he created with his hand, he would later on go to idolize it. That was his occupation. That was his job. He let the things he built dictate him. The things that he built with his hand, he let him rule his life. So Taran one day, he made a big sculpture. A huge sculpture. And since it was his job, he wanted to sell this one. This new sculpture, this new God that he thought he had just created. So he sent his son Abraham on a long journey to another city so Abraham could sell this sculpture and Taran could receive his money. So Abraham, being an obedient son, started his journey. It was a long journey. As he was traveling with the sculpture, now Abraham grew up with his father Taran, meaning that just like his father, he idolized his sculpture. He idolized it. He thought that the sculpture was actually his creator. So as he was walking, he was hungry and he wanted to eat something. So he put the sculpture down and he started worshiping it. And then he asked the sculpture, "I am hungry. Since you are my creator, I need you to feed me. Give me food." Abraham said this to the sculpture, and then he waited. But the sculpture was not his creator. It's a material. And just as you're thinking of right now, the sculpture did not respond back to him. He received no response. So Abraham was confused, and then he thought, maybe you have nothing to feed me with right now. But can you give me something to drink? I'm thirsty. He waited. He didn't receive anything. He didn't get any type of response. So he said, maybe you don't have anything to eat or drink right now. Just talk to me. I'm lonely. I need someone to talk to. He still didn't receive any response. So he was confused. He became angry. He became furious. He couldn't understand why his creator couldn't provide for him food, couldn't provide for him drink. He couldn't even talk to him. So Abraham took the sculpture and he went to the city that his father ordered him. And once he reached the city, he took the sculpture and said, "Who's going to buy a God that has an ear but cannot hear? An eye but they cannot see? A mouth that cannot speak? Who wants to buy this sculpture from me? A sculpture that has an ear that can't hear. A sculpture that has an eye that cannot see. A sculpture that has a mouth that cannot speak. Who wants to buy this sculpture from me? Who wants to buy this God from me?" For he thought it was God. For he thought it was a creature. Then all the people were confused. They said, "Who would want to buy that from you? Who would want to buy something, a God, a creator, who has an ear that cannot hear, an eye that cannot see, a mouth but that can't talk?" As you're listening to this, I hope you notice something. I hope you're noticing your life is not like the sculpture. But I fear that many people, our generation, this generation that we're in, we resemble a lot of the characteristic of this sculpture, the youth. We all have been taught the gospel. We have heard the gospel. We have ears, but we haven't listened to it. We haven't corrected our life. We haven't changed our life. We have seen the miracles of God, but we haven't believed it. We still don't believe in God. We have mouth and we talk every single day, but we have yet to give thanks to God. We share much of the same qualities as the sculpture. The sculpture is not expected to talk, but what about us? How come we can't correct our life after we've heard it? After we've heard the gospel? After we've heard the right way? How come we can't make a correction in our life after we've seen the miracles of God? How come we cannot praise God after He's giving us everything? The generation that we're in right now is very much similar to the people of Noah. The people of Noah resemble us in a lot of ways as well. During the people of Noah, there was a lot of sinful activities going on, a lot of disturbing things. Noah told the people that God was mad and He was going to punish them through a big flood. And He told them about it. He told them that a flood was coming. and that they need to get prepared. Just like the sculpture, they all had ears, but no one listened to the warnings of Noah. Just like the sculpture,